Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the Invincible Iron Man Issue 3, 2022. Yeah. And this cover kind of works, because we kind of get a little bit more on who is kind of behind this. Well, not complete definitive of who's behind it, but there's some crazy stuff going on. And granted, I just really love the art of showcasing the Iron Man coming out of the ripped skin. That's just a crazy looking cover. So, the great kind of thing about this is the first kind of part really delves into Song Wei and actually going back to like the Armored Wars and how he ties into Tony's history. And we have art style kind of reminiscing and going back to that kind of art style, which is very hard to do because you either copy it and you kind of don't feel the artist who's actually doing it, or you kind of make it your own kind of style a little bit too much, and it's like it doesn't feel like it was back then. There's a hard, pardon me, middle ground, and I think that this one reaches it very well where you get the artist's style, but it still looks like what was going on back at the time. So, we see that Tony shows up at Zhong Wei's house, and he's talking about how he usually does redundancies, like if his boot jets fails, his stabilizer should have enough. He wanted a redundancy for in case his weapon manufacturing went back. So he was like, someone whose moral compass always found true north. And now my friend is dead. Cops believe he died by suicide with my repulsor technology, and that doesn't even get to make sense. But is he dead because I treated him as a redundancy? And Tony does need to think of it that way. No, granted, he is a friend, but he is also had that part to try and make sure that the board is protected. And then we go into years ago, as Tony's pretty much trying to get him to get on the board of Stark International, and like in the middle of this kind of thing, it's like, fine, put these goggles on. How he's using, trying to speak the language, Zhe, but he's like, you're welcome, and the accent is still not quite right. He's like, I'm trying here, Wei. And at least because he is kind of trying, he is going hard for what he wants from Zhong Wei, but he's still got those little things to do. And of course, he talks about being a futurist, and that he's got to pick one life or the other, and that you'll have money and stock, but you'll also have control. You'll have the right to be legitimately worried about my lifestyle. Let's see. The laser pretty much does a blasting kind of thing. Let's see. And he wants the company to grow beyond him, and when it does, the board has to become comprised of multiple people I trust, moral people, and it's good for Stark to want that, to make sure that it doesn't do. So he's going to reclaim his patents, and he needs someone who stands up to bullies for what is right. I know that you're the guy because you've been standing up to AIM. He's like, all right, why don't you come over for dinner? You can meet the family. He's like, how about breakfast tomorrow? I have my regular meeting tonight and I have a streak going on. Rhodes tell him that some bogeys are coming in. He's got to run, as we then see these are minor players in the Armor Wars, the Raiders, rudimentary designs, and they had lost Iron Man. They're trying to look around for him, and of course he's in his Silver Centurion armor, trying to pull his boots on and everything. He's like, hey, he's right there. His boot is stuck. And he's like, Rhodey, what's your ETA? Who says I even have one? First we kill Stark's bodyguard, then we kill Stark. It's like, shit. And then of course they start blasting up holes and everything. And I love that he keeps like thumbs up. He's like, Mr. Stark escaped. I'm here to mop up these bums. I'm sure Mr. Stark is good for the repairs. Like, I love them doing that kind of stuff with like the bodyguard and everything. And then one dude gets kind of blasted, and we see Rhodey pretty much flying in a giant kind of, well, not giant, but like a miniaturized helicopter, but like giant ass kind of war machine thing. He's like, let's just check, let Iron Man check the tags on your gear. Make sure there's none of the Stark tech there. Otherwise, things might get unpleasant. Nice hit, Rhodes, as they start going after people. And then, of course, he gets hit with this kind of like net thing, and talking about how the proliferation of what became known as Stark tech always caused him to lose sleep. I couldn't be in the air fighting the fight and in the boardroom at the same time. Both were equally important, and it's good that Tony knows that. That is the guy Stark wants you to work with? And then, of course, he gets in the net, and he lands on his car, and he's like, damn it. And then he does another thumbs up, and he's like, sorry, I think I've seen one of these in Stark's garage. I'll send an electro email about it after this is over. And you have to remember, this is around the 80s, so, like, emails are a different kind of beast. So they stopped the Raiders, and it was an early night for them meeting the next morning. And it's funny because you then see he's got a new car, because Tony didn't want to destroy his car. And he's just like, yeah, let me fix that. And then Zong brings up, like, hey, what if you don't win these armored wars? And he's like, I will. How can you make sure of that? I did say I'm a futurist, right? But that's a valid question. You want me to be a part of this kind of thing? I kind of have to know, what are the contingencies? What happens if you lose? Because if you go into a partnership with someone, and they're like, we don't plan on losing, don't go with them, please. You need to plan the scenarios of what happens when you win and what happens if you lose. Now, granted, there are variables that enter that change what your winning scenario looks like, what your losing scenario looks like. But you should always plan for when the universe decides to take the thunderous dildo spiked death cock of doom and smacks the living shit out of you. Because there's always the possibility for that kind of weird, oddly specific scenario to happen. Granted, sometimes it's not that bad. Sometimes it is that bad. Sometimes it's fucking worse. But always, I'm like, yes, definitely ask. And he's like, alright, you win. Your tech's back. You survive any of the lawsuits. Sure. Why me? Because of how he handled the attempted takeover by AIM. And he's like, you must be joking. That ruined me. Bankrupted. Almost lost the house. It was a disaster. And then Tony's like, in my tax brackets, there are disasters, and then there are disasters. Your disaster was only one for the accountants. And Zong knew what AIM wanted the lasers for. That it could cause real disasters for people. And Tony's like, I need someone in my corner in this capitalist society who will choose the red ink instead of red blood. Which is important, because sometimes it's better to take a loss of red ink in something rather than to go forward with it and be like, hey, we're in the black, but we fucking killed people. No. No. That's what Tony's fighting with this shit, and that's why he needs Zong. And he's like, okay, you're on. You won't regret it. And it's kind of sad because you're like, wow, the two optimistic people, and then what happens to Zong? It's like, damn, like I didn't know much about him, but then when I'm going through and seeing Tony actually like interact with him and try and talk with him and get him on his side, and does get him on his side, and then what's happened now, it's like, damn, I promise. And then of course, Rhodey's like, I've been looking for you, but then I saw news of Zong, and then we see Rhodey land, and granted, I do like his armor design here. It's like, though it is a little bit top beefy for some reason, but I do like the way it looks, and it's like, thanks, Rhodey. What can I do to help? Fly with me, War Machine. There's a hunch I have to check out back in New York City. Let's see. And of course they go to Stark Unlimited. And Rhodey's like, we're not about to break into your old company, are we? I don't know how encrypted my comms are right now, so maybe you should treat this as a party chat. Seriously? How much trouble are we in? Something is very rotten in Denmark. It's none of my usual suspects. And it's great when Tony, now granted, he's in a very back against the wall kind of scenario, but he is playing smart here. He even went to the graves of Obadiah Stane and the Hammers, and to make sure that they were dead. Rhodey's like, you what? And I'm like, listen, if I lived in a universe like the Marvel Universe, I would not act as surprised as Rhodey would here because of resurrections and cyborgs and all different kind of other shenanigans and shit that would ensue. And then, of course, he's like, hey, have you been going to your AA meetings? It's like, actually, no, not since I was poisoned at one. And it's like, god damn, it's like so small, it's like, oh god. And he's like, don't worry, I'll find a new one and everything, we'll be okay. And then he's like, alright, what are we looking for? And he signed up shenanigans. Thank you for using shenanigans, even though I use it so much. And then, of course, he kind of has Boss narrow it down to, they've been given budget designations in the last 30 days. They find one, Open Sesame, where he just rips his way through. saying that shouldn't that have triggered an alarm? Yes, under normal circumstances, someone abducted the living laser. Made him think it was me. You're expecting another body double in here? I have good news, or really bad news. No life signs in there. It's like, shit. Alright, so this is probably a life model decoy of Tony Stark or something. Let's see. But then, we see them bust out in armor similar to what Iron Man's got on right now. This person, whoever they are, is really gunning for him. But granted, we can tell between both of them because the one that we've been following has the marks on the eyes. It's kind of a little bit more beat up and different kind of color. Like I was saying, we'd find a doppelganger in armor in the pod. Not exactly, but okay. And then Rhodey gives him a warning before he's like, alright, we're popping you out. Acid. And then he gets blasted, and it's like, oh shit. And then, of course, Rhodey pretty much grabs onto him, and then he blasts him with liquid nitrogen to pretty much crack open the armor. And then, of course, this armor shouldn't be here. The designs for this armor were conceived and fabricated outside of Stark. I've been hacked. So that even shows even more compromisation, that he's more compromised. And then he's like, damn it. And then we see who looks like Tony and sounds like Tony, and like gloating like an asshole. Saying, this got to be strange for you. You spared many lives by discovering this lab before I revealed it tomorrow. I'll admit you were so slow out of the gate that I was worried you'd be yet another boring disappointment. And Rhodey's like, that's the most realistic life model decoy I've ever seen, as far as I know. Yeah, a real skin job. So sorry about your friend. And, oh my god, like, you can even tell the shitty kind of look. I don't know if it's the decoy or copy or whatnot. And just be like, oh, I'm sorry about your friend's suicide. He's a piece of Star Tech, it must hurt. It's like, you fucking asshole. And then, I don't usually condone going out of the way of anger because you're just giving them kind of what they want. But, like, Stark's like, you murdering bastard. He was a great man, and he was my friend. And he's shouting at him, and he just fucking thunder punched him. And you won't get what you want. The company is safe. Zong's shares in my old company were transferred to a charity in the days before his untimely demise. Those shares are now in play and have been sold several times. I own the company, the patents, the land. I own it all. And it's like, god damn it. So, it's really kind of crazy because he got all of that crazy shit from the black market, and now somebody's like, this is the perfect time to take Stark all of this shit. And it's like, damn. Like, Tony's in a very bad spot here. If this is, Rhodey's like, if this is someone new, you really managed to piss them off in record time. And of course, they're, like, laughing and everything. And then their things kind of blowing up. It's like, Stark Unlimited's under new management. We have big plans. Come find me if you can. I have a one-time offer to make you. We'll see how smart you really are. Tony, step back. The thing's going to blow up. Tony, come on, man. Zongwei will be avenged before this is over. That's the spirit, Stark. When the bell rings in the morning, come out swinging. And then we see, like, a gross kind of thing as it's dying. Rhodey, I'm going to need you to keep your distance from me for a while. I know who's behind this now, and I need to go start an international incident. It's like, yeah, Tony needs to go handle some business. So, that's where the issue ends, and I'm like, I really like them laying the foundation of Tony's relationship with Zong, and how it was, and going a little back in time, and even though it's more of a retcon, and especially for this kind of story, I liked it because it was done well, executed well, and made me feel for Zong, and then seeing Tony's kind of attachment to him as well, as he then goes into Stark Unlimited, seeing how compromised it is, how compromised Stark's stuff was, because they were able to build a copy of his suit, and then how they've got everything of his, and that Stark has to fight this. How is he going to fight this? Is it better for him to go the Iron Man route, or is he going to have to hunker down, build something kind of crazy, build up his own kind of company, and then go after, if this enemy will allow him to do that? There's a lot of different kind of crazy ways that this could go, and I can't wait to see what kind of comes up. But this was nice to showcase that that this person who's gunning for him isn't one of the usual suspects, and is really much of a giant dick, and doesn't care about killing people and making fun of them in front of the person's face. And Tony is not having any of that shit. and I can't wait to see how he fights back. So those are my opinions on the issue. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.